Look, I know a lot of people don't say it, but the sling was a superior ranged weapon throughout history. No world does it ever make sense that a sling would be superior to a bow. In about 7500 BCE, it was used all through antiquity. The only thing that phased it out was the lack of skilled slingers. Rate of fire, accuracy, the bow is superior in basically all those things. The bow actually does not have superior range. Ancient slingers can sling it up to 400 meters. Well, all right, so the range is early period bows, not later period bows. Those could definitely outdistance it. But let's talk about ammo. It takes weeks to make arrows. You gotta have skilled craftsmen, skilled tradesmen, everything. I can pick up some rocks and be almost as deadly. And see the ammunition. I mean, that's definitely a good point. I mean, it's hard to manufacture arrows. It takes a lot of time, very specialized skill. But logistically, you can carry a lot more with you easier. They're gonna be a little bit lighter weight. So, you know, kind of give and take there. And what are you even wearing? I'm pretty sure that's a skirt. Like, that's definitely a skirt. You're wearing a skirt. It is not a skirt. It's breezy and good for stretching. What about you? You got a blouse on. Oh, it's not a blouse. It's like a super cool Renaissance type look. It's not a blouse. It's not. Yes, it most definitely is a blouse. I mean, maybe it's kind of a blouse, but I like how it looks. Guys, listen. Can we just stop and both agree on one simple thing? Yeah? What's that? What? You are both gigantic nerds. You are an adult. This is ridiculous. I guess he's right. Yeah, he's right. Come here, bring it in. All right, okay, bring it in. Anyways, let's have some fun. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to what I would affectionately describe the nerdiest channel on YouTube. Today's video is going to be about the sling versus the bow. Let's call it Robin Hood versus King David. Now, for the purpose of this test, we're going to be a few different things. We're going to be doing rate of fire, and then most importantly and most fun is going to be damage versus different types of defensive armor. So we're going to do wooden shields, we're going to use steel, we're going to use helmets, and all of the like, to see which one has more devastating power, which one was the better weapon overall, why the sling phased out, and a few different other things to talk about on the way. So I have no doubt that during the course of this video, we will see definitively that the Warbow is the superior weapon. What? Now to get some base stats, what we got here, challenger number 1, we have the 155-pound Warbow. How is the weight of a bow determined? Well, I'm going to show you real quick how that's measured out using this scale right here. This thing works is you strap it onto the back of the bow here, and then you pull it out and you go all the way to the full drop. And once you get there, you hit the hold button. And what that ends up doing is showing you what your draw weight is. So it takes 153 pounds of pressure to get that back to like a 32 inch draw. So the reason I want to use this bow for this video is it's a self bow, meaning it's one piece of wood. So this test, as opposed to the laminate or the multi-wood bows, is this is just a simple stick. It's just one piece of wood. And I think that'll be a good analogy, so it's not like modern tech applied to a bow, and it'll give a good one-to-one for the sling as far as what's a superior weapon for ancient technology, a bendy stick or a spinny rope. Next up, we have our projectile. Now, Warbow arrows are nothing short of massive. This one here, you can see, I'll put it on here, it ends up being right around 113 grams, and that translates to like 15, 16, 1700 grains. So they all vary a little bit because I make them myself, but that's like 3 times the weight of a normal arrow. And so when I get to the sling, we're gonna measure the projectile weight for that also to give you an idea of what the impact force is looking like. So for this test and just the ones in general, I don't have lead shot. So the best way I supplement that is I use the bigger sling here. This is heavier duty, longer, more rotational energy, and I'm using bigger rocks, which is gonna be a similar mass to what probably a lead shot would be. So I'm gonna break these down for you real quick. These projectiles I'm using, well, as you saw, the arrow's about 113 grams. This rock here is right around 285. That is a big projectile. So the first test I want to do is rate of fire. Now I know you think it's probably pretty obvious that the bow is faster. Everyone's seen Lars Anderson or horse archers shoot where they do a thumb draw, rapid fire, but this is not that kind of channel. This is the biggest, baddest of the weapons that I can muster. So it's gonna take every ounce of my strength to pull this back. It's not gonna be fast, but each hit is gonna be devastating. It's not gonna be a fast fire thing. It's gonna be how quickly can I get a massive bow back to draw loose and get another one. So I think it's not gonna be as clear cut as a lot of people think, but let's go. I'm just gonna do probably 3 or 4 shots and time that out. Okay, felt all right, a little stuttered in there, but not too bad. So next we're gonna try the speed test. So I have a few stones here. I'm trying to figure out how best to settle them because I don't have like a little pouch. I think I'm gonna keep them in my offhand here, see how long it takes me to get through 4 shots. Okay, and those were all good shots too. They all were at the backdrop. So that's 4 decent shots in a very slow way to do it. But I'd say that's a pretty good 1-to-1. Play that back on time, but I feel like honestly the sling is faster, especially with a heavy bow. So that's the big difference between the bows that you do for fast shooting archery and heavy war bows is that they take a long time to load up. It's not a quick motion. And with a sling, if I were to have that pouch in there, it's a much more efficient, faster reload because you literally stone there, stick it in, drag it out, and come over and throw it. And then you grab it, stick it in, go over and throw it. So it's a much smoother, whoops. So it'd be sped up a lot, but then again, the bow could too. So for me, as a test, I'd say they're pretty even. Next up, we have got ourselves a wooden shield. Now this is a really thick shield. It's been through a lot of damage over the years. And I'm gonna use the heavy duty arrows that I have. They're gonna weigh more, go a little bit slower, but have a lot more punching power. And then when I get to the sling, we're gonna use heavier rocks. What it'll do against wood, because wood tends to absorb that blunt damage really, really well. So I'm gonna use the heavier tip bodkins, and we'll do them both from about like 20-ish yards or something like that. So we can use 3 different types of arrowheads for this. First one is this one, really bulbous tip, super heavy, the heaviest one that I have. And this one was given to me by my Australian friend, Fateful Force. I'll put his link right here as well. You can see he does Warbow stuff. He's great, also a writer, so check him out. Show him some love for hooking me up with some good bodkin tips and broadheads. And so, first shot. Second one here is more of a traditional broadhead type point. And then third one right here is more of a standard taper point. All right, so what do we got here? Well, we have the bodkin point here and the more bulbous one here, but the crazy thing is the broadhead itself actually went through and through the shield. Now this shield's obviously taken a beating, but that's actually really cool to see because I've never actually made it that deep through this shield before. It stops around here, but this one actually had enough momentum to push through and through. So that's a really cool thing because I've never used those type of broadhead points before. So that's a good definitive result right there. That's gonna be real hard for the sling to beat. Let's see. To be honest, I kind of want to do this one in slow-mo and see how that looks because that was really cool to me. Well, shoot, I tried to replicate it, but the first one must have dulled the tip quite a bit because I'm not getting the same damage. But that one time was real cool, guys. Real cool. Ah, dang it. Well, that's annoying. Here we go. The archer had a go at the wooden shield. Now we are bringing the sling home. So I'm using the heavier duty, longer sling with a heavier duty projectile because that's what I want to do, is try and just get some mass moving fast. See, it's almost gonna be like a staff sling the way that I'm using it, honestly. So let's see how that wood holds up. Honestly, watching that back with that impact there, I am quite confident if that was a lead shot, I would have made it through the shield. That's pretty exciting. I did not think that was going to happen. You know, this has been through a lot. Obviously, it's a weakened shield, but you can see it hit here in the back right there. Those were some big impacts. And I really feel like if I would have had proper lead, that would have punched right. Oh, my skirt. I feel like it would have made all that difference to make sure that it would go through, because I can feel it. I mean, that's through. It just needs to be a better density, and it's going to cause some massive damage. It's pretty evident from that test that wood shields in general do a really good job of diffusing that blunt impact. Unless I had really good lead shot and was throwing it super duper fast, I don't see much of a problem arising for the person behind the shield against a sling. But with the arrows, you did see, I mean, obviously a lot of times that stopped it from getting there, but it did enough to punch through where it could still injure someone behind that shield if you had like a strong arrowhead, and it was sharp. Next, we're gonna go to 16 gauge helmet. So this one's obviously been through the ringer, but I'm gonna try and post it and hit right in here. So we're gonna take a couple shots with the arrows, and then I wanna see with like a lighter, more malleable metal, how the sling does against that, because we've tested against plenty of things before, but I want to see how it does against this helmet here. Grazed it. Similar results to all the past testing that I've done with this helmet. I think that was that one there. Yeah, so again, it's going in pretty good. This isn't like a needle tip bodkin, which does better, but I didn't want to necessarily completely go like with that piercing round because that's kind of skewed it majorly in the favor of the bow. So now we're gonna try it with the sling because I'm curious to see what that slightly more malleable 16 gauge steel, how it does against that. All right, guys, I'm not gonna lie, I had a heck of a time getting direct hits on this thing. It's just not that day. I had a ton of close shots, but just none that were really good. I think the best one was right up here, probably, but even so, that wasn't super square. But it's hot, guys. So that's gonna have to settle for the helmet test, unfortunately. I'll come back another day and revisit it more, probably, but as of today, that's the best I'm gonna get, I think. Now we have Maximus Shortimus. The armor stand did break when I was doing the sling testing, so he's a bit shorter now. I need to re-weld and repair that. But there's quite a few people who said, man, I wish I would have seen bodkin tips against the Legionary Armor. And so it was kind of like, well, you know, I got it here. I'm gonna phase this one out for a newer piece sooner or later. So let's go ahead and get some bodkin tips, get some different arrowhead types and see how it does. I'm not gonna re-film the sling with it. I'll show that video as well over this to kind of show what the damage did so we can kind of get a comparison 1-to-1, but this should be a good little send off for the cuirass or the chest piece, however you want to say it. I don't really care. What do we got here? Well, I had a few hits here, here, and here. This was the best one right here. That punched in and through. I feel like if you had mail on underneath that, that may give you a little bit of protection, but that was the entirety of this really bulbous head here. So that's a lot of mass, and so that's gonna be pretty impactful, but it's gonna be localized. I still don't know what I would rather get hit by in this, whether it would be a sling or a bow. Either one would be a bad day. That's what I would say. It has been sling versus bow. I am exhausted. I think I pulled a muscle in my abs from doing that, from the heavy stone. Oh. I hope you guys enjoy. As far as a clear-cut winner, obviously one is a newer technology with the Warbow, came around 13th, 14th century. One is ancient technology, as estimated 7500 BCE. So it's hard to do a 1-to-1, but if I were to say deadliest warrior, you know, Robin Hood versus, let's say, King David, I do feel like the archer has the advantage, because as far as just if you hit someone, there's not necessarily a guaranteed massive impact, because if you hit someone with a arrow, let's say, it hits an unarmed part, is going to pierce and cause issue, and that'll probably cause infection. So even from like 100, 200 yards away, if it comes down and hits a non-vital area, you have some danger of that. As opposed to a sling or a rock, it may come down and hit, but you're gonna cause bruising and contusion, but not necessarily infection. So I feel like it's a much more war of attrition weapon. I think that the arrow has a better chance to disarm and injure someone for a longer period of time in mass volley than a sling does, because of that piercing. I realize, of course, this is probably an obvious conclusion to everyone, but what I wanted to do was simply show that the sling is no slouch. I think that the bow is the superior weapon, but I do think the sling is a close second when it comes to ancient ranged weapons. And it needs that affirmation and it needs that exposure in popular media. So here's my chance to try to do that with a skirt. Or dress. It's more like a sundress, I think. I'd say sundress. If you guys made it to the video, thank you so much. It is a pleasure to share and enjoy. I don't think this was as good as the other videos I've done. I was kind of on a crunch time and I had to get all this stuff out here. So many pieces to move. So I hope you enjoy it, because as always, it was fun to do. If I didn't have fun doing these, I certainly wouldn't. So I hope you guys enjoy it also.